Get him, get him.
Oh my God!
Calm down. Come here, come here, come here, come here, come here, come here.
Oh, yeah, dude!
Dude.
6 pounds, 11 ounces. Oh,
2 points. Oh my. Limp! That's what I've been f***ing waiting for all day.
that's over 6.
True. And that one's.
Oh, here he goes.
Go. Good?
That's a big fish.
Full hand on tail. Yeah, it looks sick. Good to go.
Look how broad that thing is.
I wonder if that was the one that followed me in.
Beautiful. Oh my God. Holy God. What a beast.
Oh, wow. That might be a 4. That might be a 4.
Yeah, it's a 4. You guys show that off too. 4 pounds, 12 ounces. Holy. Oop.
Another good one.
Holy sh! What the? Is that another 6?
Could be.
It's a second giant of the day, proving that point. Oh my God! Oh my God!
Yes!
Big baits, big fish. There we go. 5 pounds, 6 ounces. Beauty! Dude, I'm not even joking. It happened again.
You kidding me?
Nope.
Is it big?
Oh! That's strong.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
That's a fat fish, dude.
4.
Holy. Dude. Holy hell, that's long.
Yeah, it is.
5, 4, 6. What?
Yeah. Just rock.
Got him. Get in here, you. There's another 6. You. That's a big fish.
6'10". Woohoo! Little fatty.
Go time. Evening, everybody. How are we all doing? I need to turn on a thing. Where'd it go? There it is, up there. Now the intro's done. See, I'm learning. I'm improving. Making things better. Hope everyone's having a wonderful time. Who do we have in the chat already? Andrew, Dogbone,
Hi.
Gordy, David, Mike, Freedom Fishing, Mark, Aaron, DMH8. Hello, everybody.
DM hate.
DM Hate.
Demand.
And there it is, right off the bat. And DJ. I love that shirt. So Andrew got here before Dennis did. We were just sitting there talking, enjoying a little whiskey. And Dennis walks in and we're both like, yes!
You look like a life-size Dixie cup.
Phenomenal. We have I'm gonna plan for tonight is to cover a good amount on the BFL Lake Champlain that I just fished this past Saturday. And from there, we're going to kind of open up to talk about whatever, but I am hoping that whatever I'm kind of bringing up, that these guys are going to ask more questions, you guys are going to ask more questions, because I don't want the whole night to be just about that, just me talking about the tournament that I sucked ass in. Probably shouldn't start the stream off right away speaking like that, but that's where we're at. Do you know what?
I knew that this would be the theme of tonight, no matter what. That's why I put the shirt on.
That's why the blue oyster. I'm like, my lobby must have exploded.
My goal is to wear more and more ridiculous shirts every week.
I had to get in on this. There was some 90s Kawasaki sport bike colors on that shirt. So, no joke. The first and only motorcycle I ever owned was I bought off my father-in-law. It was a 1995 Yamaha YZF-R 600. So, the pre-R6 model. And I kid you not, it was that fuchsia on the rims, and then like all the accent colors all around the bike. And the first thing I did was I rattle can matte black all the rims, and then I just took that same spray paint can and sprayed it in the cup and used a little foam brush and went over everything else. And then I got some like sheet decals of the silver that matched the other silver on the bike, and I went over the orange. It was creamsicle orange. It was fuchsia, creamsicle orange, and then this like beautiful like pre-R6 blue, like the old Yamaha blue.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful, but I was like, I can't do the fuchsia and orange creamsicle.
I would. I'd wear this shirt.
I love that bike. That thing was awesome. And then I sold it to a kid in Maine, and someone found a post about it like 6 years later, and they said to me like, "Hey, was that your bike?" And apparently a week after he bought it, he went out driving way too fast right after the rain. He totaled it.
Ah,
He was fine, but he destroyed the bike. Of course, just how it goes.
both good options.
I don't know, it's Birdie or shirt or his mouth. You guys are amazing.
This is exactly what I wanted. This is exactly what I was going for.
Oh God! All right. So, let's before we get into it, for everybody that's here, everybody that shared the stream prior to the stream starting, thank you very much as always. We appreciate you guys more than you know. Do me a favor, whether you're watching here on YouTube or on Facebook, leave a like, please. Thinking about Spotify, I need to get on my buddy Chris's butt a little bit about that, because he was the one that's supposed to be taking over with like editing those and getting them up there, and I know it's like months and months and months behind. I'd like to get that caught up because I've had quite a few messages asking like what happened. So I'm going to try to address that pretty shortly here. And other than that, we're going to continue rolling with the Wednesday nights. The only interruption we have to the schedule is going to be middle of September. I think the 11th, 12th, 13th. Yeah. Because I leave for Lake Champlain that Wednesday morning to go out for the New Hampshire Bass Nation state team qualifying tournament. However, I'm staying at Cozy Cottages.
Oh yeah,
Got in touch with Alan. I got the last cabin.
nice.
So if memory serves correct, the Wi-Fi up there is actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
If you're like in the cabin or on the porch or whatever.
See, that's fine. So we can do it. And I know for a fact it's better than where I just was this past weekend. So that's the only slight hiccup to this. Otherwise, we're just going to keep on rolling with the Wednesday nights. And it's a final countdown for our friend Andrew. Which is very sad.
Yeah.
Happy sad. Very happy for him going. Very sad that he's going.
I got this week,
Next week
next week,
and the week after.
and the week after.
Maybe.
Well, it's literally the last thing I'm going to do up here for fishing is that
The stream.
show. And then Thursday I'm leaving.
Hmm.
So,
Sad.
boo-hoo.
Why'd you pull in the date?
Well,
You don't have to answer.
It was more of a matter of circumstance of timing with everything.
work situation, season kind of changing for boats, and we're just kind of not slowing down, but slowing down enough where he didn't really need me 100%.
Yeah,
Because he's
timing just lined up.
Right,
more than
Yeah.
anything, it's because he already hired your replacement.
pretty much.
Like, if not for the replacement, there's enough work for that number of
There's
people.
enough. There's
Yeah.
enough work for 2 people. That's for sure.
Yeah, but they're +1 right now.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Which, by the way,
Probably going to have to +2 here pretty soon too, because the business is growing.
yeah.
So-
I tell you what, if anybody in the greater area around Manchester, New Hampshire is looking to get work done on their boat,
Anyone
specifically
in the
electronics
greater
wise,
northeast area?
yeah,
No,
seriously.
literally, we have people from like Pennsylvania, upstate New York, everywhere coming to us. So
If you're within a 16-hour drive of Auburn, New Hampshire, cannot recommend it enough. You have to go to Bass Fishing Electronics in Auburn, New Hampshire, which is where Andrew works currently. And his good buddy Steve, I would say a strong acquaintance of mine. He's a good dude. We talk fairly often, or often enough is the better way to put it. He's the whole reason my boat is the rig the way it is. Before he even started the business, when he was just like kind of wheeling and dealing used units online, he was on the phone with me for 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just asking questions, trying to figure out what it was I was going to put on my boat. So at this point, I had no idea if I was going to spend any money, and I knew I didn't have a lot to spend. Steve still stayed on the phone with me for 2 hours to break down every single option that I had, and then beyond that, explaining a lot about what a lot of these electronics could do. This is the middle of this crazy how far I've come. This is only 6 years ago when I knew literally nothing beyond 2D sonar. I knew nothing. And for 2 hours, he talked to me and explained everything with zero promise that he was going to get a sale out of me. And I did. I ended up buying 2 Lowrance Elite 7s, like the original Elites that were good before they took... those Elites became the Hook series now, if memory serves correct. And I don't even know if they have the Hook series at this point.
now they have the Eagle.
The Eagle, that's right, correct. But, man, the guys are in my business for life. All the work that they've always done there between Steve, Brian, Andrew, like it's top notch. If you're looking for work to be done on your boat, go down there, make an appointment, call them up, get it done. Things are not slow over there, but they're not hectic. Like, you're probably not going to call and be like, yeah, you got to wait 2 months. It's,
No, you will.
is it really still
Is
that
that
late?
far out?
September, yeah.
Get it done.
October.
Get it done. I promise you will not be disappointed. Literally anything major I have done to my boat is still only done by those guys. I won't bring it anywhere else. I mean, it helps that it's convenient. They're
Or
only
house calls.
like 40 minutes away.
Do they
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
They don't
I
do
need
like
something to
engine work,
pinch
though,
something
right?
pretty easy.
It's only like rigging.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't like doing anything electrical. So if there's like, I mean, literally, I just added a battery the other day, and I was like, Andrew, can you come double check me? He's like, you were literally just moving cables. I'm like, but I'm scared. Please help. He took care of me. And for the record, I'm not sponsored by Bass Fishing Electronics. I mean, obviously Andrew works there, so he's leaving though at the same time. So while it does benefit him, it doesn't really benefit him. I'm not doing this to be disingenuous in any way, shape, or form. We've talked about them a number of times. We've had Steve on twice. Cannot say enough good things about Bass Fishing Electronics. So if you need stuff done, go there, get it done. Other than that,
Yes.
let's talk a little bit about.
Keep it easy for the next 2 weeks.
Don't mess with his timetable, people. You know what? I see a question that I do want to address because this is from the burning season. Question: why did Douglas cancel their tourneys? There was significant challenge with the amount of effort required to run tournaments of that scale and the bandwidth available to those that were running it. That's the gist of it. There's just only so many hours in a day for what people can do to run something like that, and they just didn't have the manpower to do it. So, as I understand it, they were only canceled for this year, but they have been putting focus into understanding what is needed and who, more importantly, is needed for maybe additional people to get it done. And they're aiming to get them rolling again next year, which is good because I'd like to be able to make it out for a few of those because
Where are they?
they're all over the greater Northeast, which is why I like the idea of going after those so much. So, and I probably wouldn't be able to do all of them because that's a lot of traveling. But, jump in one or two here and there. Like, I'm pretty sure they did Oneida or Cayuga. I'd love to go.
Yeah.
Try one of those.
That'd be cool.
See how it goes. But without further ado, let's talk a little bit about this Champlain BFL. And at any point, ask any questions. There's a couple of lessons that I learned from this that, you think the older you get, the amount of numbers of hours you put on the water, you would think you learned everything that could potentially happen. And you'll still be humbled every time. There's always going to be something that comes up that you don't anticipate, whether it's something actively happening or the way that you react to it being a somewhat unique situation. And that the latter, more than anything, is what I ran into with this. And I will say that I'm going to throw that up from DJ. At least he didn't break anything unlike myself. Yes, and I feel bad for you, man. That does suck. You were not alone. There was a lot of people at the 81 boats that were there. He broke both mounting brackets for both of his front grafts.
Oh, jeez.
And
BBT.
he hit a wave so hard that his Fortrex somehow deflected enough that it hit the fiberglass on the top cap so hard it gouged all the gel coat all the way down to the raw fiberglass underneath. And he literally was like, I don't understand how he did it. We were standing there looking at it.
Hey, he's a Fortrex?
Yeah, sorry, Ultrex.
So I was going to say, I didn't think he had a Fortrex.
He's literally putting his whole body weight on it, and while suspending his weight on it, like jumping up and down, and it would not deflect even half the distance. And granted, it's like maybe 1.5 inches clearance, but he still couldn't get it to budge.
He says, I didn't.
To be clear, I thought it was when you were running, like not hitting away, but like just kind of bouncing through. But I don't know, at some point, like something happened that it was able to deflect enough that it slapped his top cap. And
Jesus.
yeah, we saw a guy that came
the
in.
Mega Live fell off. Jesus.
Oh yeah, and he snapped his Mega Life. There was that too.
It's an expensive tournament.
It was. We saw a guy in the parking lot after the weigh-in that was driving around boat on the trailer. He had no motor cowling, so he lost that at some point. Oh yeah.
Why is everybody getting so much damage? Was it crazy? Like super wavy?
Yeah, let's talk about that part. That part
Let's
first.
talk about that part.
Stinks.
Winds were blowing 10 to 15 sustained with gusts up to 20 out of the southeast.
That will do it.
That will do it. When we took off, we were all sitting behind the break wall in Plattsburgh at the main ramp.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you got clear of the break wall, it was all white capped and it was 2 to 4 footers. It varied. But I think at the worst, it was 4 footers. And it was just trim up, nose up, and just crash your way through it. I think I was doing maybe 20-ish miles an hour going all the way through that. And I ran straight southeast to go all the way across the other side of the mainland to get out of the wind a little bit before I turned north. And I ran from there all the way up to Ransom's Bay. And I was in, we'll say, 2 to 3 foot chop until I got just north of the gut. And then it decreased a lot for the last run from that major point, west side of the gut, all the way up to the entrance into Carey Bay. Then as soon as we cut in there, it was almost like glass. It was just like the perfect little ripple to just run max speed.
Mm-hmm.
Ran 70 until I hit that bridge, the Alberg Bridge.
Yep.
Obviously, no wake through there. Get back on pad and ran 70 all the way up until I got just maybe a quarter of a mile past the northern tip of North Hero, and then all hell broke loose. And it was 3 to 4 footers the whole way through.
Ugh.
That's
And
fun.
it was, that's doable in a 21-foot boat. You got to go slow, but you can get it done. And then the worst part was coming back. The last spot we fished was the very northern side of Point Aroche, up in that area. And that was all glass because it comes back down and in. And we were scrambling at that point for the last spot. So it was just like, let's just get out of the wind for a little bit and try and make some magic happen. We didn't. It was like, okay, time to go. So that morning run from Plattsburgh all the way to Ransom's Bay, like at the very, very top of Ransom's Bay, took 45 minutes in the morning from essentially where I had to, we'll call it basically the very northern point of Point Aroche. Back down to Plattsburgh, I mapped it out. It's 12 and a half miles. It took me 40 minutes.
Which one is Point Aroche? Is that on the
North,
from come out of the gut on the west side and then run northwest, but like
northwest.
Yes, thank you. West northwest would be the way to put it.
It's
And it's like one of the first major points over there.
like Plattsburgh.
So it's the point of Isle of Mont.
Yeah, it's actually very. It's maybe a half a mile south of the very southern tip of Isle of Mont.
Okay.
So it was, man, and that was where a lot of the problem was with people breaking their stuff. That ride back, it was all 3 to 4 footers with the occasional 5 footer. That whole run from Point Aroche to the very tip of Cumberland Head. And then once I turned the corner, I could ride in the trough from that point. So I went from 17, 18 miles an hour on average to now I get like 30, 35 in a couple of spots. I kid you not, at one point we hit a series of waves that were at least 6 feet tall, but I honestly got to think one of them was 7 feet.
Jeez.
Because we were riding the trough, but we weren't going perfectly in the trough. So we were going trough to peak to trough to peak. And I remember there was 4 waves back to back to back. And the one in the middle was the biggest. We got up on top of the first one. I remember looking down like, holy hell, that's a big wave. And we hit the biggest one. And you ever stood on top, like the very top of a 6-foot ladder?
Yes.
And look down and you feel like that really wobbly feeling?
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt. Being on top of that wave, looking down at the bottom of the trench. Like, dude, this is a big damn wave. And it was bad. West is the kindest kid. Yeah. So that really kind of lays the picture for what we ran into for this event and why so many people broke their boats. There was quite a few people I talked to in the ramp. Again, only 81 anglers. I probably talked to 20 different ones that were pissed that MLF let the event go. But I think it was because there was Saturday and then the Sunday event was a makeup for the canceled Oneida event earlier in the year for high winds that they wanted to ensure that there was at least one tournament that went on. And it was close. I mean, honestly, if I'm okay with them doing it, even though if that wind was literally like 3 miles an hour faster, there's no way they should have done it. It was bad. But
What did the person that won do?
I have no idea. All I remember was hearing him because DJ ended up finishing 24th, but his weight was good enough. He had 16 and change that we thought he was going to cut a check.
Huh.
So I went back to the weigh-in after I took care of my boat just to stand with him and see if he did. And apparently the winner, I didn't realize it was standing right next to us. And I heard him say something about we went over to this one spot. I spot locked. I didn't move the rest of the day. And he had 22 and change.
Jesus.
Good for him.
22 and change from the winner. I believe second was also either low 22 or high 21 pounds. And then
Smallmouth thing?
no, I don't know. And then it dropped right down to 19 and change. And it was kind of like a log jam of like somewhere mid 19 to like high 17s for the last paying spots. There was quite a few people that did not have a limit either. Yeah. So
Anybody you know?
Believe it.
I mean, co-angler wise, yeah.
It was you. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, I didn't have a limit. Okay. I finished, for anybody that didn't see the social media posts, I finished 57th out of 81 boats. Going into this, I remember the last thing I talked to Andrew about it was, I just want to do better than last year. I really had my eyes set on the top 20, but I want to do better than last year.
How'd you do last year?
Last year I did 50. I had to go back and look. 55th or 52nd. 52nd out of like 130. So overall, I did a lot better. Plus, I had 5 fish at that event, but I was 2 minutes late, so I lost 2 pounds. I would have ended up finishing 30 something if I wasn't late. So all in all,
like I said, better than 58th.
better than 50.
That's true.
And I was on time. And I'd like to tell that story really quick because it's funny. So 45 minutes all the way up to Ransom Bay. 40 minutes to get back from the top of Point Roche back to the ramp in Plattsburgh, which is half the distance that we ran in the morning. So I figured, I know it's going to be worse. Let's give ourselves 45 minutes. 1:45, I remember looking at the clock and saying, like, we should go, but let's wait a few more minutes and see if my coin all of a sudden figured something out. And at 1:48, he caught his 5th keeper. I lost my 5th keeper for like the 10th time in the last 20 minutes. It's like, okay, it is what it is. Just some days it's not meant to be. And I'll go into more details on that later. But I was like, we got to go. So we got on pad at 1:50. So we had exactly 40 minutes to get back. We were still like maybe a half mile from the ferry crossing. I said, time check is at 2:17. I'm like, dude, there's no way we're going to make it. And he was like, don't worry about it. I'd rather, like, neither one of us are doing this for points. I know I don't have a winning bag. It's not even going to get me a check. Let's just get back, man. Let's just get back. Keep your boat in one piece. It's like, all right. But what? And so I just kept going at the same speed it was. It wasn't killing us. Then we turned the point, and I realized at a couple points, I got up to like 40, 45 running that trough, which was stupid, dude. Because if I cut the angle wrong, I was jumping off to one of the top of those waves.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one point I got close. Like I came at the crest, I could feel the nose still staying high as I'm starting to come down. I'm like, oh, Jesus. Came down. I was like, okay, maybe 35 is the way to go. And we're like, from the point of Cumberland Head back to the ramp of Plattsburgh is 2.5 miles. And we're more than halfway. And he was like, hey, they said if you get on pad within a reasonable distance, you get off pad, then they'll count you as, they'll consider you as checked in because of how tough the conditions were. Okay. We got right about to the point of that seawall at the ramp, which is about 400 feet from where the check-in boat was. I had to go back and look because it was absurd. I'm thinking in my head, this is reasonable. Took it off pad, and that momentum of being on pad at like 35 when the nose is kind of high, and then just letting go of the gas and the nose coming down. With that momentum, Coinger leached forward, grabbed the glove box, flipped it open, grabbed the phone, pulled it out, and we both looked at it just in time to see it turn from 230 to 231. I'm not kidding, not exaggerating, not embellishing. Like
Within seconds.
Literally within seconds.
But they counted you as on time?
But they counted us as on time.
Awesome.
And the guy was smiling ear to ear, and he was laughing. He was like, you guys literally just made it. You could not have cut that any closer. And I was like, yeah, we know. So it was wild. But yeah, man, 57th, I only had 4 fish. One of those was 12.25 inches. All 4 were smallmouth. So 11 pounds, 6 ounces for my 4, with one that was way less than a pound. It was the smallest 12.25 inch fish I've ever seen in my life. Maybe 12.5, whatever it was. It was just barely over 12.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And I broke off a lot of fish. And it was at no fault of the line whatsoever, although in hindsight, I did not need to go as light as I was, given how turbid the water was. They shouldn't have been line shy. But what was happening was the best spot that I had was getting hammered by the wind. And it was this nice rocky shelf in like 15 feet of water. 1/2 ounce of water sniper jig. Like, you gonna do it? If you can, please. 1/2 ounce of water sniper, MB Sexy Melon with a little general on the back. Green pumpkin. That's it. That's literally all I caught almost all my fish on. Focus. I mean, at this point, I think everybody, yeah. You had it. You almost had it. It's almost there. Almost. I think you're going to put the jig right against your hand.
This looks like my shirt.
And then come in.
Come on.
Closer.
You're going to block us in the back.
Hey.
There it is. Beauteous. That's it. He's only 3/8 ounce, but we're throwing 1/2 ounce. If I cast that 1/2 ounce into the wind, even only fishing 15 feet, the wind was driving with the current. My jig was bouncing along with the current. So I had to throw it downwind, down current, and bring it back. And it was working great. I first 5 minutes on that spot that I had the highest level of confidence in, I caught 3 fish in 3 consecutive casts, and then I broke off the next 7 or 8 bites because I lost a couple of jigs earlier in the day.
How'd you break off 7 or 8?
Because the wind was so bad, I was using 15-pound braid to 10-pound fluoro leader because I needed that. I mean, given that I was casting a half-ounce jig only in 15 feet of water and I couldn't keep it on the bottom,
Yeah.
Even though I broke out the first few fish, I knew I couldn't go up in my line diameter because it was going to cause more drag and I was going to have even more problem keeping it on the bottom.
Yeah. Did you switch to braid?
No, I mean,
You just already had it.
I had a 20-foot long leader of 10-pound fluoro with my 15-pound fluoro braid. And what was happening was because the wind was just constantly picking up my line and holding it in the air that I couldn't feel when they were picking it up gently and swimming around the boulders I was catching them around. So I go to put tension on it. I feel dunk, dunk, like, yep, got a fish. And I just go to lean into it. But at that point, my line was already around the rocks and just clean break every time. Like, never even had a chance on any of those fish that I broke off. And that's just how it was. So I did get one fish on a wobblehead jig or swing head jig with a striking rage bug on it too. That was the last fish I got, which is actually, I think, my biggest of the day. It was like about 3 3/4. But it just, other than that, I had a bunch of fish that I hooked into that just came unpinned. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I haven't had a day in that long where I literally changed nothing about what I was doing, but I lost way more fish than I had in years.
Yeah.
Years. And the only thing I can think was because of how much wind and current there was, my line was bowed so much more than it ever usually is. Because I almost never fish in conditions like that.
Right.
When the wind's that bad. That I just wasn't getting as solid a hook set as I thought it was. And
But you were breaking. They weren't coming off.
it was a mixed bag.
Huh.
I was either breaking or they were coming off. So the ones that came off, jig went down. I knew at that point, bomb the jig out, close the bail, and you still got that big swoop in your line. So go to lean into it, and I got to pull up all that swoop first, but I'm feeling tick like right away as soon as I put any tension on the line, and those were the fish I tended to miss. I'd get them, but then I'd lose them after 10, 20 feet.
That sounds awful. Frustrating.
I will say, Andrew and I have had really good success in the majority of the tournaments we fished over, say, the last 6 years. So, last year, I really felt like I let myself down, and I was pissed. I didn't call or text anybody after I weigh in. I realized what I had done, especially being 2 minutes late. On top of that, I blew my motor. I went back to the cabin, and I sat in silence for 2 hours. And then finally he texted me. He's like, "You good?" Yeah. You texted me.
Oh.
He was like, I think you called me "Hey, we're all at the other house. You should just come over." I was like, "All right." But this year, it didn't bother me once because, again, last 5 or 6 years, we've done pretty well in the majority of the tournaments we've done. I think we've won 1 or 2 of them, but we've won money in quite a few of them.
Almost every single one of them.
Yep, and the ones we didn't make money, we were just on the outside. So at some point, you're gonna have a really goddamn bad day. Saturday was my turn. And everybody's going to go through it. We do everything that we can to avoid it. And there are just some days where the cards 100% do not fall your way. And you're going to have just a dog shit day where nothing goes right. And it is what it is. And that was for me Saturday. And I'm okay with it.
Dennis is like, I don't know what you're talking about. I always catch fish.
I think your day this time went better than last year because you don't have to get a new boat.
Exactly. I didn't break a single thing on my boat. My boat did everything that I wanted to out of this. I went out there and the upcoming first lesson learned. I was nervous as shit leading up, the day before and then the morning of, because I knew that it was going to be bad. I've been out in some really bad stuff, and I knew this was going to be worse than anything I ever experienced. And it was. It absolutely lived up to it. But the moment I got on pad after they called my number, every single worry went away. But the problem was that worry completely dictated my game plan for the day. I based it around the wind forecast and not what I had found in pre-fishing. Mistake number 1. I let the wind dictate what I should do because in my head I thought, okay, it's pretty crap out right now and it's only going to get worse later in the day. Of all my spots, my best spot is the closest spot. I should leave that to the end because if it's really bad, at least I have the shortest distance to get back. And If it's really good, then I'll have time to hit it. But if I go to it first and it sucks and it takes me 2 hours to figure that out, then I might not leave myself enough time to run through the other 3 or 4 spots that I had.
Yeah.
So I let the wind dictate it. So that's why I went to Ransom Bay. I went to the furthest spot that I had a high degree of confidence in. I take it back. 1 fish. Out of the first 3 spots we did, 1 fish. My co-anger caught it. And it was a solid largemouth. It was like 3 pounds. Okay. In hindsight, dumbest decision I've ever made. It's kind of along, in my opinion, it's kind of along the lines of don't leave fish to find fish. Like if you're hammering on them, all of a sudden the bite shuts off. You don't just be like, oh, okay, well, let's go all the way across the lake and try and do something else. Because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
We do that a lot.
We do. And more often than not, we go back to that first spot and we hammer them.
Yeah.
I literally did that
Give 'em
again
a
on
second.
Sunday. When Alex ended up coming out and meeting me, DJ's buddy Alex. And we found this one stretch in the morning and did really well on Ned Briggs. And then the bite died. We're like, okay, let's go over here. And we went there and we went there. Nothing. I was like, let's just go back to that first spot. 3 passes up and down that stretch, we killed him. And it wasn't the Ned rig anymore, it was a sniper with a 3.3-inch Kitech on the back. And just they completely changed what they wanted. So that's probably what happened in the morning. And in this case, I bypassed my best possible spot because I was worried that if it didn't pan out, then I wouldn't have time to go check my other not so great spots. And
maybe
in
it
the
was
end-
on fire in the morning.
Yep. And maybe those walleye weren't there at all in the morning.
Yeah.
That I could have gone in there and hammered them and ran to another spot, given them a break for an hour, come back and hammer them again. That was the single biggest mistake I made. Instead of going to the absolute best spot that I had, I just was like, no, because the wind's not going to allow it for me to go to these other spots. And I went and I burned more than half the day. Takeoff was at 6. I think we left the ramp at 6:10 by the time my boat number 49 was called. And I didn't get to my best spot until like 11:20, 11:25. So it was right about 11:30. I caught my first fish of the day. And on top of that, I factored in that I lost about 3 hours of my day just to driving because of how bad the conditions were. So on the one hand, did it kind of make sense to take that approach? Like, well, I got 4 or 5 spots, whatever I have confidence in. So let's take the wind into account and try to maximize the time, the limited time I'm going to have. On the one hand, yes. But on the other hand, you're not fun fishing. Like, you don't have unlimited time. You have a very finite amount of time and you need to make shit happen.
Yeah.
I should have went to my best spot first. And if that didn't pan out, then in all likelihood, none of the other spots were probably going to pan out anyway. So would have been screwed regardless.
It's also in the back of your mind, then you're running out of time and you don't have anything. And
Yep.
Shit.
yeah.
So it was just, that was by far the biggest mistake I made.
Did you run
the whole
into
thing.
like a lot of spots where there were already other boats there?
No, which was a very telling sign by my third largemouth spot. I tell you what, I got up there Wednesday. Tournament was Saturday. I got up there Wednesday. I fished Valcour Island. That's all I had time for. I got a late start getting out. Family wanted to see me before I left, which no problem. And then got up there and I was going to fish Willsboro Bay and then Valcour. And I got up. I got even at Willsboro and I pulled up my app and I'm checking the wind finder. I'm like, I don't have a prayer in hell of getting down there. So why should I stop in and waste my time down here if I probably can't even get my boat down there? And at that point, even if I did, I would lose the rest of my day to go anywhere else because everything else I had was north.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, let me check Valcour. I've never been there. And I've heard there can be good fishing at times. So I went for like, I think it was 2.5 hours. Caught a couple of fish. Nothing to really get overly excited about. Saw quite a few fish. My favorite part was I was just letting the wind at this point carry me down. And whatever the wind and current was pulling me, and I'm just live scoping, just scanning it back and forth. Not moving the boat, just scan. And all of a sudden I saw one rock with 3 big marks on it. I'm like, hell yeah, spot lock, fire out that stupid little twitching minnow. And first cast, all 3 of these came out, and there was one big one and then 2 kind of smallerish ones. And the big one came right up behind it, and then one of the smaller ones zoomed right up around it and smoked it, and it was like 1.5 pounds. I was like, that sucks. But at the same time, I didn't care because I was like, well, all right, it's good to know there's fish out here if I want to come back down here, if I can. Because from Plattsburgh down to Valcour is really not that bad of a run. I went out Thursday for about 6 or 7 hours. And my whole goal was like just run mostly largemouth spots, but I want to go back and check a smallmouth spot I found the year before. That's ended up where I caught the majority of my fish. And I went there. In 5 minutes, I had 2 heavy threes for smallmouth. I'm like, done, left that alone. And I went and ran a bunch of other largemouth spots. Nothing. I mean, sorry. I saw a lot of what I wanted to see. I caught nothing except for one area, which you and I fish when we go up there in May. I've told you about it a million times. We go in the gut. If the conditions aren't right, that it's like they're not quite ready, they're not quite moved in. Yep, we go up to that next spot, and it's like pre-spawn is absolutely on fire.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll try up there. I found a ton of beautiful milfoil, like 300 feet off the shore. And you can see light ripple up there, and you can see the tops of all the mats where the water is smooth. And it went on for about 1,000 feet. Okay, good. So I started bouncing between that and the shoreline. Went to the mats first, nothing. Went to the shoreline, caught a really healthy 3-pound largemouth. Like, cool, okay, get away from the bank. Went back out, hooked into a largemouth that was a tank, and I'm positive it was a largemouth. And I fought it like hell, and I was going to boat flip at the last second. You couldn't see more than 6 inches in the water up there. The water was so stained. And in the last second, as I'm about to go flip, he turned his head, made one last-minute surge under the boat, hit the bottom of the boat, came unpinned. Like, that's fine, whatever. I'm positive it was a largemouth, so I didn't even want to worry about it. But I felt good enough about that stretch. I'm like, I'm gonna go because I know everything else that's there. We've had success up there for the last 4 years. I've been going up there with you.
Sounds right.
Yeah, and so it's good enough. Let's leave it be. Ran some other spots, nothing, and then my turret for my active target died, and it just stopped turning. I'm like, that's odd. So I ran over to one other spot, and it was a largemouth spot. Nothing panned out. I'm like, okay, the only other spots I want to check are smallmouth, and not that I'm really going to use it during the tournament. I'd like my active target to be able to see if there's anything even out here deep. So I wait, what? Because so Jesus, you guys derailed me. I couldn't check any of my smallmouth spots because I wanted to be able to have the forward-facing sonar to see if they're even out there roaming in deeper water. I was trying to specifically find fish in like 20 to 40 feet. I'm like, I mean, I can do it without this, but it's going to make checking a lot more spots quicker. So for where I was, I was launching at a Point of Roche, and I was staying at Marine Village Cottages. Like 3 minutes back to the ramp, 1 minute drive back to my cabin where I had all my tools. Like, no, I'll pull the boat, I'll go out and look. 6 hours later, finally determined this could not be fixed. And I pulled it apart. I was on the phone with Andrew. I called his buddy Brian, one of the main guys at Bass Fishing Electronics. And finally, Brian's like, no, dude, that's toast. A bunch of the teeth on the gears inside the motor box broke. So there was nothing to be done about it. Took it off, put on my trolling motor, and went back out with DJ when he got there for like an hour. Farted around the gut. Nothing. Not a thing. Called it a night. Went back out the next day. Ran 2 more smallmouth spots. 1 panned out, 1 didn't. And ran a bunch of other largemouth spots. And I got nothing. I didn't even find fish. So the vast majority of my Friday was wasted.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. And I tell you what, to give you an idea, I went from Point of Roche north. That's all I did. And I only stayed on the shoreline of North Hero and South Hero in the Inland Sea. So I didn't even get over to the other side because I wasn't sure I was going to have enough time. I knew I could get over there this time, but I wasn't sure what that would do for me for time if I try and ran over there. So I just didn't. That probably another stupid decision on my part to not even give it a shot, but it is what it is. So I ran. In 2 hours of fishing on Wednesday, 6 to 7 hours on Thursday, and probably another 10 hours on Friday, I burned $350 of gas in my boat.
Ugh.
I covered a lot of goddamn water. I did a lot of side imaging. I did a lot of scoping. I did a lot of, a little bit of fishing in there. Friday, I got 1 fish in the boat. So needless to say, I remember calling my wife and being like, it's probably not gonna be good tomorrow. I was a little upset that I just couldn't get it done. But I went out and gave it all. Tried like hell. Fished a bunch of spots. I mean, dude, I fished through every area that I knew outside of, say, St. Albans Bay. I didn't go in there because, again, I wasn't sure if I'd leave myself enough time to do anything else if I went all the way over there. And I got 1 fish.
That sounds like you don't have days like that at Lake Champlain unless the lake is off.
Yeah.
So,
I will say, the other thing, too, was I spent too much time looking at the wrong depth. Because in the end, the vast majority of those fish were in 10 feet of water or less, including the smallmouth. And my coin ended up catching like a low 4-pounder at the last spot we went to in 3 feet of water.
So were you out deeper?
Yeah, for the most part, when I was looking for smallies, I was like dedicated from like 15 to 30 the vast majority of the time. And I did look in some areas from like, say, 30 to 45. And truthfully, the only reason I did that was because Saturday morning I was watching Bass Live when they were all up there on Champlain. And I saw one of the Johnson brothers was having pretty good luck on smallies out deep. I don't even remember where the hell he was. I was trying to see, like, I wonder where he is in the lake. Never saw it. And there was quite a few other anglers I saw where they were. Never even got to go to any of those spots. There was one guy that was up at Ransom's Bay, though. There's another guy up in the other bay by the Chazy River. I debated going over there, but never did to go scout it. So I just even left it alone during the tournament.
That spot could have been cool.
Trust me. Like when I went to Ransom Bay, by the time I get done with it, I was like, this was stupid. I should have went over that other spot. Because we went up there with the Candlewood kids last year and we did really well. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I just didn't retread it. So it was just a lot of boneheaded decisions on like stupid pride to an extent where I didn't want to try and retread like some of the spots I saw that the elites were on that I had known about, which was literally 2 spots, with the exception of Ransom's Bay. And just not getting my head out of my butt far enough to understand that, okay, dude, you've run like...
Didn't get to that.
Yep. I ran like 30 miles of 30 to 45 feet of water that had nothing. I just, I know they're out there somewhere, but certainly not in any of the areas I ran. So I don't know. Biggest lessons to take away from this.
So you had a good tournament?
I mean...
Sounded productive.
Really, there's only 2 things I talked about that are lessons and then from boneheaded mistakes that I made. But I've been extremely elaborative in what those situations were to kind of really lay out the whole scope of why I felt those were huge mistakes and why they were boneheaded. The biggest one was not going to my best spot first and allowing the wind and my concerns about it and the time it would leave me to get around to dictate how my day was going to go versus should have been best spot first and every other spot just working down the order of level of confidence and success I had in scouting. But I didn't. I went by what the wind would potentially allow for the day. And that was stupid. That was just so stupid in hindsight. But now I know it's an important lesson that I've learned. And hopefully next time I go up there, back-to-back tournaments been up there. Last year in my current nitro wouldn't have been an issue. Last year in my Skeeter, it was it was an issue. This year, it didn't matter what boat you had out there, it sucked. So, I just back-to-back years where it hasn't been impossible, but it certainly wasn't easy. It was very challenging. And I wasn't the only one that struggled, so not that it makes me feel better, but it kind of makes me feel a little bit better that it wasn't just me that completely sucked. I didn't finish dead last, so there's that.
That's a win.
I didn't bring anything on my boat, so that's another big win. So not fishing my best spot was a big one, and just being too focused on the wrong thing and not taking, god damn, dude, we probably talked about this 30 or 40 times over the 161 episodes we've done of this. Not stopping for 5 goddamn minutes to be like, Sean, what the fuck are you doing? None of this is working. Right. Do something different. Yeah. What haven't you done a lot of yet? Like, 5 feet of water or less.
Glides. See if they're there.
Yeah. Did I throw my glide? No. You know what though? I threw my citizen a lot.
You fucked up.
And I got, so DJ did really well. We had 16 and change. He finished 24th. 3 of his keepers he caught on the 3-piece cycle gill. Yes. Crankdown swim bait. And I remember him saying during one of the day, Friday, we were scouting Thursday when he got there, that he had been having luck on the crankdowns lately. I was like, you know what? Our buddy Kyle has been doing really well in like wakes. And I pulled up my DEFCON, my shallow DEFCON. And I went up to that Alberg Bridge with the wind pounding into the southern shore on the rocks. Mm-hmm. And it had like the perfect amount of rock and everything with the weeds just outside.
You're ballsy.
And I went and I chucked a Senko and I threw my DEFCON for an hour. I didn't get a bite. I was like, and it was only one spot, but it was a pretty big area I covered. Because that whole rocky shore where it comes in line with the road before it cuts down. Yep. I covered all of that on the inside and then the whole thing again on the outside. I didn't get a bite. I was like,
it's discouraging.
I guess it's not going to happen, huh? No, it just turns out I was throwing everything in the wrong areas for largemouth.
I am curious. Somebody said in there it's been cold at night and in the mornings. I'm curious how that's going to impact the fishing this weekend. It's like
Yeah,
early
Andrew
fall
said it.
almost.
They're gonna be.
It's been
like,
chilly past
"I
couple
don't know
nights into
what
the
to
mornings.
do."
It's interesting you bring that up because like typically at this point you would find a lot of these fish out deep.
Yeah.
And dude, I cannot find a deep bite to save
Yeah,
my
there
life.
might not be. That's what I was thinking about that this morning when I was going to work. It was like, this is normally when I'll go to like Winnie or something and I'll fish in like 60 feet of water. It's like, if it was 51 degrees when I was leaving the house this morning, like, I don't think they're going to be out deep when it's like that.
Should they?
And
Or they are.
if
Are
they're
they?
deep, then
Well, they find that thermocline. They're happy there.
We
They
don't-
stay there.
We don't decide what they do.
No, we're not. We don't. We definitely do not.
so it's interesting because
Real Northern Bass tells the bass what to do all the time.
Real North.
Go deep, damn it.
Where were we recently that we saw the thermocline and we thought, okay, well, it was at like 32 or 33 feet.
Last place we went.
That's right, up there in Vermont. And we never caught a single fish near it. They're all 10 feet shallower than it or shallower. Even up on Newfound when I went with my son a couple weeks ago. Oh, now at this point, like a month ago. That dude, like, I mean, right now, every year I've gone to Newfound this time of the year, they're deep. Or they're sitting out in the middle over deep water, but, you know, down 30, 35 feet.
But
Yep.
yeah.
Nope, dude.
They're probably
Never
afraid of the
saw a
thermocline.
single fish.
Hmm.
They were all in 20 feet.
They're,
really
they're
weird.
afraid of it now.
It's weird.
The water is
year.
identifying as a thermocline, so they're trying to get away from it.
It's
It's
yeah,
a weird
no,
year.
very, very perplexing that I'm just not finding them out deep like I used to. And like, that's something that we've really kind of prided ourselves on being able to do, like all three of us. Middle of summer, like, yeah, dude, I got all the confidence in the world. I can go out there deep. I'll be in 55, 60 feet of water and we'll still get them. And this year, dude, I haven't got a single one out there. And it's like, it's not like it's just this one lake or I'm just trying the one same thing over and over again on this one lake. I mean, it's been literally every lake I've tried and I've thrown everything, including doing a lot of mid-strolling for the first time this year and just, well, since December. And just they're not there in all the places we've always found them. And then even the lakes where you'd like, they should be there. They're not there. I don't get it.
I've had days. I'm actually glad that you brought up the like not taking 5 minutes and being like, what I'm doing isn't working. What have I not done?
Yeah.
Because when we were talking about like, what are we gonna like? Are we gonna have segments on the show or something? And we talked about that thing of like overrated, underrated.
Oh, yeah.
And like I've been thinking about like what are good like underrated things, and one of the things that I had in my mind was like having a terrible day on the water. I feel like is underrated because like I've had like some of the best learning experiences that I've had are days where I went out there and like did absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And then like you realize like either at the very end of the day or you realize afterwards and can like test it and realize that like, oh, like it was because I was doing this thing or in this area and I didn't try this thing and I didn't try this aspect. Like I had a day, I think I told you about this, the place where I said I might go this weekend, last fall when the fish go like are starting to be weird and are like maybe really shallow, maybe still deep. I had a day where I went and I was there for like 8 hours and I was skunked for 7 of those hours, like no fish, no bites. And I was like, I've tried deep, I've tried shallow, I've tried in the weeds, I've tried everything. And I was like, I'm just going to try to trigger a bite rather than getting them to like bite. Like I'm going to try to get a reaction bite. So I went up along a shoreline in like 2 feet of water and I threw a spinnerbait and I was literally reeling it as fast as I can and like hitting rocks and stuff. And I ended up catching like 13 smallmouth in that last hour. And it was like, okay, like that was it.
Cool.
But it was like, that wouldn't have happened if I had caught like 2 or 3 or 4. I would have just had like a meh kind of day. But because I did so terrible the most of the day, I was like, I'm going to do something that I don't think is going to work, but I might as well try it because I haven't tried it.
Right.
I got a hot glide bait bite there.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. First thing in the morning. I caught like 3 or 4 back to like almost consecutive.
Yeah, that was nuts. That was very early on in the big glide fishing game for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember we were all jacked up for it, but you had way more confidence in going into it. And you were like, I forget, we got out there, and I forget what you said, but you're like, yeah, glide. Something about the glide. And you're just like, yep, no, it makes sense. And you picked it up, you chucked it, It was like your second or third cast, you stuck one. You're like, you were jacked up.
Oh my
You're
god.
so excited.
I was right.
You put it back, and I was excited. I was like, oh, it's fucking awesome. He caught one on the big glass. It's great. And he just kept doing it. I'm like, oh my god, it's happening.
I'm a swim baiter.
It's happening.
Let's go, bro.
$2,000 later.
Yeah, for real.
I wish I had taken that 5 minutes earlier on to just sit back and really think about what the hell I was doing and what had I not done yet. But still, also, biggest thing was playing to your strengths. You can go out there, Jared, you go to bed. You can go out there and
Wait, what?
this is my buddy, Jared Forens.
Oh,
Go
I
to
didn't even
bed.
see that. Hi, Jared.
You're the only other person that gets in there earlier than me, aside from production. Anyway, he's my coworker and an old friend. I've known him since he was like yay big.
It's my brother-in-law.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. I wish I had taken the 5 minutes at some point Thursday earlier in the morning to like just to sit back and like really reflect before I got to the point of like extreme frustration that I reached by like 3 or 4 o'clock Friday. Because I remember at one point, at this point, I was just out running shoals, not in the inland sea on the New York side. And dude, I couldn't even make anything happen out there. I was throwing everything I had finesse. I was throwing my big jigs, nothing. I couldn't even see fish to get to react. And that's usually something out there. It's like pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
You know, either side of the shoal, whether it's the current hammered side or the down current side, nothing. And I remember just spot locking and sitting down and literally laying down the front deck of my boat for 10 minutes, just like breathing exercise. Like, what the hell am I doing wrong? But it wasn't productive. It was not a productive pause because I didn't take that pause in a timely manner and allowed myself to get way too frustrated and disappointed in myself that I couldn't even think. Like I just had to like shut everything down and woosah and just, okay, all right, heart rate's back to normal. I'm feeling all right. And just like, all right, let's go try this. Let's go try that. If I had just taken 5 minutes to be like, okay, none of this shit worked. You tried a bunch of off-the-wall stuff. You tried stuff kind of similar to what you're throwing, but it's not quite the same. What haven't you done with things that you have the most confidence in that has even an iota of a chance of making sense? And at this point, I should be thinking like Andrew, because he thinks like this all the time. And it's just taking something that you know extremely well, putting a little twist on it, and then applying it in just a slightly different area that you would never, like that you would have normally thrown it. And in the end, that's literally all it took.
Give me examples.
We're in a
'cause
catch.
I don't know what I do.
Okay, perfect example is Little Hustler. That tournament we went up on Webster. And you ended up taking what we would typically take, which is a crawfish style setup. So Little Hustler, no, not the Little Hustler, just the Hustler hybrid finesse jig. And we put a little craw trailer on it. And you thought to yourself, okay, instead of going with a craw profile and craw color pattern, I'm going to go for a baitfish pattern. And you put on a different color with a swim bait on the back.
Oh, yeah.
And in the blink of an eye, you had 2 smallmouth over 4 pounds.
I had like 4 over 4 pounds.
Good job,
You ended up
Andrew.
taking that finesse jig and that craw pattern and profile up shallow-ish and went to a baitfish presentation and just threw it 15 feet deeper. And that's taking something that's like the single best real world example I can give of everything I just said. Taking something that you know really, really well, that you have a high degree of confidence on, little tweak to both the presentation of it and then the area that you're throwing it at. And he did that in that tournament. And then I picked it right up and mimicked it by the time he had, I think, the 4th keeper in the boat, and I hadn't even got a bite yet. And game over at that point. And we went in with a lake that's predominantly always wins with largemouth, and we took first with all smallies.
That's awesome.
We had 4 smallies for 13 and change. I forget.
It was more than that.
Good for you.
14 and
It was
change.
16 something.
Did we have a 4 over 4?
I had a lot over 4
I think you're right.
because there was that one that was over 4.5.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, you're right. It was a good day, regardless. But you know, like that's honestly the best example.
And
can
I
make.
didn't even sleep a wink that night.
Yeah, I remember why.
Or after?
So do I.
Before
Before. The night before.
he was doing a variety of
Oh.
Without sleeping.
sleeping
Oh.
with.
I see.
Yeah,
He was in a really good mood for tournament day, let me tell
I
you.
was. And I took a nap halfway through the day.
So it was, you know, like that's, if I had taken the time to even think about that, then who knows? Maybe I would have stumbled onto what my co-anchor found in like literally the last half an hour of the day. And he ended up picking up a Jika rig, which, if you're not familiar with it is, and I really hope I got this right, it is like an extra wide gap hook that has a drop shot weight that is attached at the eyelet of the hook. So it's like one assembly, one
wobble
package
head.
that you get. And he just put like a little creature bait on the back. And it was kind of similar to like a Strike King Rage Bug. And we were going through, we hit this other spot. Nothing really going on, but it was a nice spot, really shallow with clean rock that then came into like some lower lying vegetation before it came up into some taller vegetation. And he picks that thing up and he tells me after the fact, and he starts kind of like power dragging it through. I'm not reading it yet.
His name is Mike.
Sam.
Hawk.
Mike. Guess what day it is?
I'm sweating.
I know, it's hot in here. He picked that thing up and he was like, essentially what he was doing was something we always talk about, power dragging it, right? Like, you're not reeling it, but you're moving it so fast the rod tip, it's moving fast. And he was moving it a couple feet at a time, and every time he hit something hard, he'd just kill it. And the smallies were choking it. And at that point, I was like, well, I remember trying a swing head with a rage bug. I looked in, I have like a little spare tackle box instead of leaving all this shit all over my boat. I had a spare like Plano 3500 case. And I picked that up. So, you know, like a really good jig with a perfectly good trailer. I decided, no, I don't want to use that right now. I put that in there. Pulled it open, there's my wobble head. Tied it on, and like second or third cast, I ended up hooking and losing a fish. And then shortly after that, I caught my fourth keeper, and it was like a 3 3/4 smallie. It's like doing literally what he was doing. It's like, shit. If I had even deployed that at my first spot where I got my first 3 fish, like, who knows? Who knows? Doesn't matter. I do know what I did, and it wasn't that good. But I'm not mad about it. I was just so excited that we got back on time that I literally didn't give a shit how the rest of the day went after that. I was wicked frustrated Thursday because of course something else breaks. And then I was really upset with myself by the end of the Friday because I just was not finding them the way I thought it was and would really hope to, and wasn't for lack of trying. And then I was really pissed at myself after like however many fish I broke off and continued to break off after that. Didn't get my first fish till 11:30. All of that went out the window. When I got in, the guy told me, "You're on time." I was like, I know I had a dog shit day, but I got a win right there.
Take the win where you can get it.
Yeah, dude. It's just it is what it is. You know, like I said, some days you gotta take your medicine. We're all up for a bad day every once in a while, and mine was the BFL. It's just gonna be the way it is sometimes. Carla, it's not the last. It's the third to last.
I have 2 more.
2 more.
Dos moros.
Andrew's sitting there looking like he's ready to move to Florida.
Yes. I'm not looking forward to the drive though. God no.
J-Rod fishing. That was the roughest day I've ever been on the water. It was nice meeting us out there, my man. Yeah, dude. Nope. Great day meeting you out there as well. That was, like I said, everybody has asked me how'd the tournament go. First words out of my mouth every single time. Worst water I've ever been in. What the hell did I miss now?
Andrew's just dreaming of living in Florida.
A little bit of both, you know. I had today off. I can do what I want. I'm an adult.
I'm an adult.
Don't judge me for what I like to do. I can open this door, dude. It's hot in here.
Yeah, it ain't. Definitely.
I understand.
Ain't cool.
It's
freezing
already
outside,
60 degrees out.
freezing
But it's
outside.
85 in here.
Dude, it's at least 85. I'm shining.
J-Rod, I do want to know, and it's not going to bother me because I guarantee you were fishing a very different area from me. Plus, you were also fishing better. So, I mean,
Banjo minnow.
I hope it's a banjo
Dude,
minnow.
if it's a banjo minnow, I'm going to be rock hard.
Pretty gay.
Table flips over.
What was that? Don't worry about it.
Ding.
It was. No, it wasn't.
Don't play that.
Helicopter lure.
Helicopter. Oh.
Yeah,
Can't say
I did
that.
check helicopter. No, No, it was not a banjo minnow. I really want to know what it was, though.
I do want to know what it was.
Don't leave us in suspense. I'm
Tell
almost
us,
out of
dang
whiskey.
it.
I will say,
Wacky
Senko,
Senko.
smallmouth wouldn't eat.
Ah,
SOB, switch to green ones. There you go. I mean, I threw it, especially in the last spot I went to. That was another big mistake of mine. That is by far the other biggest mistakes I've made that I didn't touch on. And I thought about it after the fact when I talked to my buddy DJ, again, 3D Fishing, it's in the chat.
weedless.
And he ended up having 16 and change and finished 24th, 26th, I forget now. And during practice, he got some really good fish on Senkos. And I will always throw a wacky, weightless Senko in a tournament. Every single time. And I had it on. It was ready. And every single area that I fished was either too thick that I couldn't get the damn thing down through it unless I weighted it. And I did have another one weighted on a freestyle rig. I did have it on.
Freestyle rig.
Never once got bit.
What do you mean a freestyle rig?
Free
rig?
Free rig, yeah. Sorry, not freestyle. Free
Come
rig.
on.
I
Just
just
making
started
up,
fishing
just
it
making up words.
3 days ago.
Jika rig, freestyle rig.
And not once in all my scouting did I stop to think like, okay, I know the wind's going to be south-southeast. Like it was consistent. It was just the wind speeds were all over the place. So not once did I think I should go look in areas where there's going to be no goddamn wind. Nope, never once did. Based on every spot I went and looked at was going to be hammered by wind. And because there's really only 2 areas I know of that I could have fished that were not going to be affected by wind. One of them, my buddy DJ was in, so I didn't even want to go over there. I didn't want to get anywhere near him because I knew he was on some good fish. In the other area, I have had decent success in. I went and looked. I couldn't get a single bite in there for one of the spots I ran. It was really not that far from the ramp either. It's literally on the other side of Cumberland Head. Didn't get a bite. So I don't know what I was doing wrong over there because I know guys were catching them, but I couldn't figure them out. So, in hindsight, like I say I didn't give it any thought, but I did give it a little bit of thought. Like, well, I got spot 1 and 2, and I'm not going to go to 2 because that's DJ's. I didn't do anything in spot 1, so it just out the window. Instead of like, maybe I should think of it from a different way or try something a little different. Nope, just let it right out.
The pressure of a tournament.
I really let that wind
Just
screw me up mentally.
It's just fishing. You're just fishing against people now. Same thing.
Fishing against the fish.
It would be nice if when I go to, well, now the next one would be the state team qualifying tournament for New Hampshire Bass Nation, back up on Champlain, but this time out of Apple Marine on South Hero. That's a big tournament for me. And I'm hoping that I can go to what will now be my 3rd truly big tournament and not have something go wrong. Because last year my trolling motor crapped out on me and that I lost a half a day screwing around with that. And then this year my turret crapped out on me, and did I really need it? No. Did I really want it just in case that it would become important if my bite shifted that hard? Yes. So was it worth me to put in the time to try and fix it? Yes. Should I have wasted 6 hours monkeying with it? No, I should not have. But that's another lesson learned. And then just fishing in hellish winds the last 2 years in a row where, yeah, you could do it and get it done. I love the nitro. I have 0 complaints. I'm happy I was able to get from point A to point B the whole day with no issues. Just slow.
Not fun, though.
No, not fun. Dude,
Takes a lot of the fun out of it.
I was sore for 2 days
Yeah.
after that from crashing waves. It was weird. You know where I felt it? My muscles up here, my neck.
Yeah.
Because
You're holding yourself steady.
hold myself steady, gripping the steering wheel
Yeah.
to pull myself up over the windshield because we were riding nose up almost the whole time to not stuff a wave. I didn't stuff a single wave the whole time. So very happy with myself with that.
Pussy.
Yeah. I didn't want to break anything. So I just I didn't even think about it. I woke up Monday morning and I forget when I did something and moved. I was like, ooh, why is that sore? And I touched my muscle. It was really sore to the touch. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, pretty much.
Little T-Rex arms.
Yep. That's
Is that Chewbacca?
yeah.
Close.
We've digressed.
Yeah, big time. I don't know. Is there anything else to talk about? I'm just completely taking this over, even though I said I wasn't going to do that, and I apologize. But y'all keep telling me how much you love to hear me talk, so it is what it is. My fingers still hurt from that day. Yeah, it's because you caught a lot of fish, you jerk.
My hand hurts from
Just
today.
kidding. Congrats again.
I had nothing to do.
Come on, Andrew.
What did you do?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
I tell you what, before we go, what do you guys want us to talk about for upcoming topics, especially for the last 2 shows that Andrew's going to be here? What do you want us to bring up? Because we have ideas. We always come up with something. I got a couple of guest appearances I'd like to work in at some point in the very near future here too.
Is it Andrew?
It is Andrew, for at least one of them.
Could be here.
He could be here.
I could be here.
Oh.
Probably not every week, but I could definitely get on a couple times a month for sure.
Ideally, if I'm still going to hopefully get down there this winter for my 40th birthday.
How's the bike going? I caught 43 pounds yesterday, something like that.
You keep talking a lot of shit about how big your fish are going to be down there.
I'm
I
gonna
hope you eat
catch
some
up.
humble pie the first 2 weeks.
Hell no.
Have you bass fished in Florida?
Yeah,
It's not easy.
I know it's not. It's gonna be tough, but I'm throwing nothing but big baits until I get that one big fish, and then I'll start doing punch and flipping and whatever.
Andrew will call us next August, like, still haven't gotten it. I'm still waiting.
Haven't even broken 4 pounds. This place sucks. I'm coming back.
Mark, Northeast Bass Fishing. Was the lake actually worse on Sunday, or they just not want to beat everybody up 2 days in a row? No, it was legitimately worse. Everything about the forecast called for 25-mile-an-hour winds sustained directly out of the south with gusts up to 35 is what all my weather apps kept telling me too. We woke up to go fish another lake south of Lake Champlain because for me it was on the way home anyway, so it worked out. Haven't been back there since earlier this year, like April, I think. And we got up, we started loading up the trucks at 4 a.m. and the wind was already howling. And one of the guys staying with us, Garrett, he got up with us because we were loud anyways. Try to be quiet. You're packing up stuff anyway. He woke up and he was like, I'm just going to wake up with you guys and head home from there. So he went over and took the 5 a.m. ferry from Plattsburgh across to Grand Isle in between North Hero and South Hero. And yeah, he texted us at 5 a.m. At that point, we we're almost halfway to the lake we were going. He was like, it's a good thing they canceled it because there's already 5 to 6 foot waves out here. And then another friend of mine, Jake Angulas, we've had him on the show before for
The kayak guy?
Yep, talking about kayak stuff. I was talking to him later that night, and he came over the ferry sometime later in the day, and he honestly felt that there was 7 to 8 foot waves out there because they were hitting the ferry so high that the top of the waves were crashing and splashing over the vehicles.
Jesus.
Yeah. The fact that they had any water coming over the top of vehicles on top of the ferry tells you just how big the waves were out there.
Ferry ain't small either.
No, dude. Justin, first off, that was a big fish the other day, and I'm happy for you not catching it at the river. I'm kidding. It's a nice fish. I am drinking Hazelbaden, little whiskey, and it's very good. It's not even like one of their special bottles. It's just their run-of-the-mill Hazelbaden. Wow, Jesus Christ.
Hazelbaden.
Hazelbaden.
Dyslexia. Basil Hayden.
Hazelbaden.
He's a Bizabaza?
Bibbidi bobbidi. I poke on my
Just gonna
They
head.
make-
have
comment
a
about
10-year
Ted Williams?
toasted one too, I believe. That's very, very good. Very delicious. I tell you what, I am excited for the turning weather more than
me
anything
too.
because I'm so tired of the humidity up here.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see.
Everybody's saying the same topic too.
Yeah.
Fall and transition.
Okay, so we
Yeah.
can talk about that next. That'd be a good one.
Andrew, are you gonna say glide baits? There you go.
That's the best season for
Topic covered.
Andrew's all season. I say this with love. I'm not picking on him. It's just what he wanted to do this year, and it has worked. In all fairness, his whole year has been BFS with a hair jig or glide, and a jig.
Literally the two
big.
extremes.
It is big.
Dude,
The two extremes.
that's how he starts.
1/16 to 12 inches.
Every trip we've gone out, that's how it starts, and almost all year, like the whole all the way through to like the early May, it was just jerkbait, and since then it's been like just jig. And a lot of other finesse stuff that really have not been consistent for us, but boy, oh boy, that jig has not failed every single trip since like middle of May. And he'll go BFS's little hair jig and then his big ass glide. And then probably after like an hour or two, it's like, okay, then the jig comes out. But then it's just a rotation of those 3 things over and over and over again.
I see someone want to throw the glide bait at, I throw at it. Like that tree that was sitting in 25 feet of water and I caught a fish on it. That was the coolest thing.
Ooh, this could actually be a really fun topic too from Mark. Difference between spring and fall jerkbait fishing, if there is one. I would say that there is.
There is one.
That could be fun.
Might not be an entire show, but we can certainly talk about it.
Faster, slower.
Andrew covered it.
I know we've
Don't throw it and throw a glide bait.
we've
Just a big jerk bait.
we've talked about jerkbait and jigs in a couple of different times of the years.
Yeah.
But I think we've done it like 4 times total in the 161 episodes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're talking about fall transition, jerkbait is a big part of that. So
True.
those two things could be covered together.
Yeah. There's a part of me that wants to do 2 episodes. One where it's like everything in the fall transition, and then one specifically about difference between spring and fall jerkbait and jig fishing. Because those 2 topics could take an hour.
Mm.
And a lot of that's going to come into play with that is size and color and cadence. Like there's enough meat in that we could break that down.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, my jig, that transition on what the jigs end up looking like and doing, what I'm doing with it, they changes dramatically over here in the next couple weeks. Except for the sniper. Sniper is consistent.
Sniper is king.
Sniper is king. That stupid little thing. That's a St. Lawrence setup. And it works so well on Champlain.
I wonder why.
We know why. And you know what? I take that back. I'm sorry. This is MB Sexy Melon. It was just the MB Melon. Just straight green pumpkin. No other color to it. No black flake, nothing. Just pure green pumpkin. And it was amazing. They were choking it.
Alewives and mimicking baitfish. Interesting.
Just mimicking baitfish in general could be good.
It's a good one.
Because you've got
Do that
alewives.
jerkbait and that in the same.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, because if you're talking baitfish, alewives, smelt, yellow perch, white perch, shiners, year of the young comes into big play and consideration for the fall.
Young of the year.
Young of the year, sorry.
Year of the young. This is the year of the young.
I'm dyslexic. Okay, what do you want from me?
Is this what you call a vacation?
This is
Yes, Jamie. I didn't have to fix your trolling motor.
Is it true a camera guy was selling or giving away waypoints? Just thought you guys might know. I have no idea. I'm assuming you're talking about the elites. No idea. Yeah, Ray Morales. MB Sexy Melon is goated. Dude, that stupid color
That's my favorite color too.
just works so well. It's so good.
Yeah. In the winter, black, but every other time of year that.
That MB Mothman, the 22 strand black, is
Really good.
really
good. Yeah.
You know what? The best way to look at it, if you're not like a jig person, but say you're like a Ned rig person, a sniper, especially the MB version, so the 22 strand counts, is like a skirted Ned rig on steroids.
I'm almost at a point where even if I don't have the 22 strand one, I'll just pull strands out so that I have I want it to have less strands like that.
I've done that.
Yeah, we have, and it's worked very well.
Yeah.
You know my favorite thing about doing that with that is? We've done it a few times. Dirt bag. And you basically just have all 3 colors on there.
Mm-hmm.
And you still get the dirt bag color scheme, but in an MB
But it's not
version.
huge. Yeah.
And it's funny because the first year that he came out with them with the 44 strands, we were killing him on all of them. And then the MB version came out, and it's like, I don't even touch any of my 44 strand ones anymore. And I still try. Don't get literally every time I go out, I have one tied on, and I will try it. And without fail, that one will still kick the crap out of it.
I'll have them tied on, and then I'll make a few casts. And I'll be like, I'm pulling these strands out.
Yeah, right. Snip. I did that with the striking tour grade or whatever they are jigs.
Yeah, because that was when we were out there up in Vermont. We did the 2 days of the camp, and then we came down and we fun fished for a few days. We guided for a day with Dean, and we blew through so many snipers in 5 days. I honestly think we lost probably 30 plus snipers. Like we went through a lot.
Wiped
We
out
may
the
have
loon
lost more than
population.
that. Yeah. Well, they're tungsten, so
Ah, okay.
it's not an issue. But I remember that we were down to like almost nothing on one color, and Andrew broke one off, and I was like, go ahead and grab one. I think it's the last one. And you're like, no, I don't want to do that. I'm like, just get it. It's all they're eating. Like, what does it matter? And you're like, no, I'm gonna grab a different one. You grab one of the striking ones, and next thing I know, he's got the scissors out. He's trimming it down. He's cutting the numbers down, and worked mint. And we started doing that with the Vanquish jigs too.
Yep.
Because we were truly out of snipers at one point. So we were taking out like literally every other Beast Coast jig we had. And at that point, we had one sniper left. We're holding up
Frankensteining
the
'em.
2 of them and just trimming everything, and worked really well.
Mhm.
Now I want to do that one of my 3/4 ounce football
Mm.
jigs.
What do you think I did to catch that 6 1/4 last year?
Oh, I didn't know you trimmed it. You sneaky bastard. I did throw my 3/4 ounce the other day. No bites.
Wow.
That's on my big jig rod. And I was like really excited. I'm dragging it. I'm like, this is big. Something big's gonna bite this. I'm gonna drop the hammer on it, like freaking dropping a bomb on his head.
Can't say that.
No bites.
All right, so what are we doing next week?
Next week, it's gonna be either just full on fall transition talk, or we can do that specifically on jerk baits and jigs. What do you guys want to see? You want us to cover everything, or just on jerk baits and jigs? Survey says.
Well, they can't. They're not going to talk to us.
I know they.
We're
wait for the
waiting.
chat. Wait for the chat to go off.
I'll wait.
Yeah, Boat Potato, you're not wrong. Sorry, by the way, I saw your comments earlier, and that's a hell of a bag. Congrats on winning that tournament. Or did you win it? Not sorry. Now I don't remember. I don't remember if you said you won or you just had a hell of a bag. I remember seeing the hell of a bag part.
Jerkbait jig. Let me see.
I see. Yeah, Mark right off the bat, jerkbait jig. No, I haven't tried the Superfly yet. I would like to get them, the new hair jig from
It's
East
right
Coast. But Superfly.
See his kicks too, and his socks. God damn, you bougie as
You like
fuck
that?
today, boy.
All right, a bunch of jerk baits.
Oh,
and
yeah,
jigs,
jerk
so-
bait and jig. All
that
right.
wins.
That's easy. All right, that's what we'll do next week then. That'll be fun. There is a part of me that wants to see if David Roy wants to come on for that too. To really talk about jerk baits.
You want to have 4 people?
Yeah, we've done that.
Have
plenty of
them
times.
lay across the table?
Heck
Yeah.
yeah.
I have a fourth
I'll
mic.
lay on the table.
Well, the fourth mic is over there on my computer, but the stand is right there, so it's easy enough to set up.
Your mic might be a little weird though.
Hmm.
You're gonna miss me. Ha, 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 ha.
All right. Thank you all for
Wrap
tuning
it
in
up
tonight.
before Andrew
Yeah, I know.
incriminates himself.
Do you want to try it?
Try what?
The sign off?
Sorry, why so much concern in that? Andrew, if we had our own HR
I'll do
department
it.
for Reel Northern Bass, you would
I'd fired him years ago. Anyway, are we good? Are we done?
yeah, we're good.
Okay, we will see you guys next week, as always, at 8 p.m. Eastern at youtube.com/@ReelNorthernBass.com. Adios, muchachos.
Have a good night, everybody.